and buy and hold investor here for a little over 3 years.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Leveling Up Book Club. Today, we are still digging deep into the 48 Laws of Power. This is our last book of 2020, and it's a big one. So if you haven't read this, don't worry about it. There's going to be plenty to discuss. Maya always makes us an awesome slideshow with great info. So let's get started. We're going to be going through chapters 19 through 25, or laws 19 through 25. So let me share my screen. All right. Law 19, know who you are dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. There are many different kinds of people in the world, and you can never assume that everyone will react to your strategies in the same way. Deceive or outmaneuver some people, and they will spend the rest of their lives seeking revenge. They are wolves in lamb's clothing. Choose your victims and opponents carefully, then never offend or deceive the wrong person. Opponents, suckers, and victims, preliminary typology. So being able to recognize these types of people and acting accordingly is critical. So first we have the arrogant and the proud man. Although he may initially disguise it, this man's touchy price makes him very dangerous. If at any point in your dealings with a person you sense an oversensitive and overactive pride, flee quickly. Number two, the hopelessly insecure man. This man is related to the proud and arrogant type, but is less violent and harder to spot. His ego is fragile, his sense of self-insecurities, and he feels himself deceived or attacked. The hurt will simmer. He will attack you in bites that will take forever to get big enough for you to notice. If you find you have deceived such a person, disappear for a long time. Number three, Mr. Suspicion. He sees what he wants to see, usually the worst in other people, and imagines everyone is after him. Play on his suspicious nature to get him to turn against other people. Number four, the serpent with a long memory. If hurt or deceived, this man will show no anger on the surface. He will calculate and wait. He is usually cold and unaffectionate. Be doubtly careful of this snake, and you will somehow, and if you have somehow injured him, either crush him completely or get him out of your sight. Number five, the plain, unassuming, and often unintelligent man. This man is a lot harder to deceive than you imagine. The danger with this man is not that he will harm you or seek revenge, but merely that he will waste your time, energy, resources, and even your sanity in trying to deceive him. Keys to power. The ability to measure people and to know who you're dealing with is the most important skill of all in gathering and conserving power. Before embarking on any move, take the measure of your mark or potential opponent. Study people's weaknesses, the chinks in their armors, their areas of their pride and insecurity. Know their ins and outs before you even decide whether or not to deal with them. In judging your opponent, never rely on your instincts. Nothing can substitute for concrete knowledge. Study and spy your opponent for however long it takes. This will pay off in the long run. And lastly, never trust appearances. There is no reversal on this one. All right, so let's go back. We all have these people in our lives. How do you recognize the arrogant and proud man in your experience? Who wants to share? Who's got that arrogant and proud man in their life, or woman, obviously?
Just let them be. You just observe and, observe.
Okay. So they say, although he may initially disguise it, this man's touchy price may make him very dangerous. If at any point in your dealings with a person you sense oversensitive and overactive pride, flee. a lot of guys in my line of business are like this. They're
Yes.
very prideful, machismo type shit, and you know, it's funny that they act all tough and you got to walk on eggshells around some people. Has anybody ever experienced that?
Yes, I was about to say that, Chris, that most men in our space are like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of contractors. I had this one concrete guy. He was a little guy. He always carried a big old huge gun on his hip, and man, he would just set him off. He was just, I don't know, he has some issues. So let's move on. How about the hopelessly insecure man? Who has dealt with a hopelessly insecure man? What'd you do about it?
I had a good work experience, Chris. You notice that a lot of hopeless, insecure men, as the title is, they're always apologizing for things they don't need to apologize for. You know what I mean? Or asking permission for things they don't need to ask permission for, instead of taking initiative. Kind of is my experience.
Thanks, JT. Yeah, the hopelessly insecure man, the fragile ego, he will attack you in bites that take forever to get big enough for you to even notice. Next, how about Mr. Suspicion? I like that they tell you to play on his suspicious nature to get him to turn against other people. Who is this? Who's this person in your life? Well, what does Mr. Suspicion do, and how does that affect you?
I'll jump on here. So Mr. Suspicion is the person, as they said on the book, who's always something's gonna go wrong. And that for me has been my mother, or a good friend of mine, my assistant, who is an amazing person, but I call her jokingly worst case scenario, because it doesn't matter what the fuck I say. She hears it from her ears, always listens to it as worst case scenario. Right. So you just have to be very careful with those people, especially when they're close to you, because their negative nature could affect your decision making.
Yes, absolutely. In the investor world, I run into this a lot. They're kind of, I don't know, forever learners maybe, but you know, they'll come to you excited. Hey, I want to do this. I want to invest. This is what I want to do. And then you bring them an opportunity, and it's like, well, what about this? What about that? Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And like the people saying, like, a lot of times it seems to get ridiculous. It's just stuff like, what if this happens? It's like, well, you know, that's never gonna happen. That's insane, you know. And worst case scenario, yeah, a lot of us deal with worst case scenario. Mr. Suspicious and Mrs. Suspicious. How about the serpent with a long memory? How about that person who you inadvertently made a jab at 7 years ago, and they're still pissed off at you? I have those people in my life, 100%. Well, actually, I don't. They unfriended me, so that's all well and good. I could care less. Has this ever happened to you guys?
That's the person that holds the grudge. But
Yeah.
But they took themselves out for you if they unfriended you. I wish they would unfriend me.
Yeah.
Just be more yourself and they'll unfriend you. I can guarantee you that.
100%.
That's
yeah, there's
right,
been
BP.
well, because you guys know that I'm just fairly honest. I don't really I might say a lot of profanity, but I don't really mean it in a bad way. So a lot of times people get an idea of when I said something, or sometimes I'll just say something off the top of my head without meaning anything, move on, and find out 2-3 years later that somebody's still bothered, doesn't like me because of something that I said in an event that I didn't even know if they were fucking listening.
Or that they take personal. It's
Yep.
100%, Kelly. Like everything that you do or say or somebody else says is personal. You know, they're overthinking like everything. It's like, man, it doesn't even have to deal with you.
yeah.
A really close friend like that.
The 4 agreements.
100%.
So I think that's great, because what it's teaching us is, you know, we all have these people in our lives, but we need to learn how to identify them earlier. You know, if you can understand that this person is this type, they're very sensitive. You kind of just want to distance yourself. You definitely don't want to try to interact with them in that way, just because it's not worth it. It's a waste of energy. And speaking of waste of energy, the last one, the number 5, the plain, unassuming, and often unintelligent man. Who has this in their life, and how do you avoid this? I mean, I know we all have these people in our lives. How do you avoid it? How do you release yourself? A lot of these people are family.
I have a partner, like a good business partner that I see this quality pop out at as soon as you read it off. And I was wondering why every time I'm with them and we're doing simple tasks that I just feel emotionally and physically drained when I'm done, no matter the spirit that I come in. And I'm looking to pay attention to that energy usage a lot and not attach, anything that they say or do with, my end results. I think that's kind of like love them from afar a little bit, and keep things pretty tasky.
Good point. Anybody else have that person they need to remove from their lives? Not, no big deal. We can move on. All right. Let's move on to law 20. Do not commit to anyone. It is the fool who always rushes to take sides. Do not commit to any side or cause but yourself. By maintaining your independence, you become the master of others, playing people against one another, making them pursue you. Part 1, do not commit to anyone. If you allow people to feel they possess you in any degree, you'll lose all power over them. By not committing your affections, they will only try harder to win you over. Stay aloof and you'll gain the power that comes with their attention and frustrated desire. Play the virgin queen, give them hope, but never the satisfaction. Keys to power on law 20. When you hold yourself back, you incur not anger, but respect. You instantly seem powerful because you make yourself ungraspable, rather than succumbing to the group or to the relationship as most people do. As your reputation for independence grows, more and more people will come to desire you, wanting to be the one who gets you to commit to them. Once you commit, the magic is gone. The goal is not to put people off, but to stir the pot and excite interest. Part 2, do not commit to anyone, stay above the fray. Don't let people drag you into their petty fights and squabbles. Seem interested and supportive, but find a way to remain neutral. Let others do the fighting while you stand back and watch and wait. When the fighting parties are good and tired, they will be ripe for the picking. You can make it a practice, in fact, to stir up quarrels between other people and then offer to mediate, gaining the power as the go-between. Second part, keys to power. Most people operate in a whirlpool of emotions, constantly reacting, turning up squabbles and conflicts. You have to master your emotions. Make your moves matter of your own choosing, not defensive reactions to the push and pull of others around you. Preserving your autonomy gives you options when people come to blows. You will play the mediator, broker piece when securing your own interests. Energy wasted on the affairs of others subtracts from your strength. On the other side, the reversal. Both parts of the law will turn against you if you take it too far. If you keep growing your number of suitors waiting too long, you will inspire not desire, but distrust. Eventually, you may find it worthwhile to commit to one side, if only for appearance sake, and the key to maintain inner independence. That is the key to maintain inner independence. Who has thoughts on this law? We need to waffle, right? We need to be the wafflers right in the middle.
So I think this applies definitely towards the real estate world, especially dealing with transactions or purchases, or when you're representing yourself or somebody else. Things always come up during a real estate transaction, and it's always a good idea to kind of keep a level head, figure out solutions instead of focusing on the problems. So just kind of not jumping the gun, keeping a calm head, looking at all your options and make the best option available at the right time.
Yeah, that's kind of the job of a real estate agent, be that neutral person to keep the level head and take the emotion out of the transaction, for sure. Who else? Do not commit to anyone.
This goes into playing a role with in the real estate world. When you're joining like teams, you have to always be committed to yourself. At the end of the day, it's your business. And, you know, when you're working on another team or working or collaborating, sometimes the vision gets blurred because you're trying to build somebody else's vision. So I think like at the end, you always have to commit to yourself and what you want to do for your business.
Right.
But still, you know, be committed, but always to yourself.
So they talked about the Virgin Queen, right? The Virgin Queen, everybody wanted to court her, you know, she would show interest over here and then, you know, she'd pull it back a little bit, show interest over here. And then depending on what her country needed from her, you know, if they needed help from Sweden, if they needed help from Italy, that's kind of where she would woo. So she was one of the keys though, is she had to be very desirable. If she wasn't desirable, then no one would really care, and that tactic wouldn't work. So that's one big part of it, right? Making yourself that desirable person, because they say once you just say, okay, I'm this person and I commit to this, you lose that desire. Anybody have anything on that? So we got Jared in the house. Welcome.
One of the things that I've learned to do is to deliver my message with a shortened amount of time and make sure to hold back and not give everything initially, because people will take your information for granted if you are just putting it out there. You have to be a lot more cautious with what you share to the public, what you put out there, because if not, your value is your stock is gonna drop. Your value is gonna go. So, oh well, this motherfucker, he'll do anything anywhere. So whatever. Then they start diminishing your value on there. So you definitely have to be very protective with that.
Good point. Good point. The other part of our society where I look at this a lot, it's politics, right? If you identify as a Republican, they put you in this corner. This is who you are. You're supposed to believe everything they believe. Same on the other side. So it's better to remain independent. We should all be independent anyways. You know, who agrees with everything that one person or one group says? I mean, that's crazy talk. So definitely you want to maintain your independence. Anybody else got anything on that, or should we move on? All right, law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. No one likes feeling stupider than the next person. The trick then is to make your victims feel smart, and not just smart, but smarter than you are. Once convinced of this, they will never suspect that you have ulterior motives. He's the power. Given how important the idea of intelligence is to most people's vanity, it is critical to never insult or impugn a person's brain power. Subliminally reassure people that they are more intelligent than you are, and you can run rings around them. Appearing less intelligent than you are is the perfect disguise. Reversal. At the start of the climb to the top, you cannot play too stupid. You may want to let your bosses know in a subtle way that you are smarter than the competition around you. As you climb the ladder, you should, to some degree, try to dampen your brilliance. A show of intelligence can help you get out of a scrape. Okay. Dumb yourselves down. Who does this in their lives, and why, and how does it work?
Man, this has worked wonders in my life. My whole fucking career has been just that. Really just making people assume what they want to assume. You know, people look at me, they hear me talk, they have a certain assumption. I'm just going to let people assume what they want to. And then at some point you just pop out, which was one of the best things that I did. I was doing open mic poetry, and people that didn't know anything about my real life would be like, oh, this motherfucker, he doesn't know anything. He's such a stupid piece of shit. What an arrogant motherfucker. And then one day I just popped out as a real estate investor because they all made their assumptions. And it was funny because there was people that were not doing anything, people that had other types of businesses that weren't as profitable. And for a lot of time, they were looking down at me. So I was never competition. They would all fight amongst each other. They would all backstab each other, but they would all look at me like, oh, that's that one guy over there. Don't worry about him. He's nothing to worry about. And then you just pop out and there you go. So that's been fucking amazing for me.
Yes, sir. See, a lot of these laws, like I said, we already had them implemented in our lives. These are things that are out there in real life. We just have to now, that we understand them, take advantage of those. 100%. BP's been flying under the radar. Yeah, that's what you want. You want people like, wait, that guy? He does what? Like 100%. That's what we want. Who else has got something on that point?
I experienced the other day on that, just with a buyer that I was giving information to. Kind of, I could tell right off the bat, and this is through email, but I try not to judge people off the bat, but got a lot of narcissists out there in our field. And this guy just wanted my 100% attention at that time. I wasn't able to give it to him, so I gave him a little bit of space. And then I got like 6 emails in a row about how I need to be more professional and I need to be at his beck and call. And then I give him a little bit more space, and then he writes a couple more emails. And I finally answer like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just new at this. You know what I mean? Like, I've never bought or sold anything with this guy. I don't have a personal relationship with him, but let him go through his emotional cycle through that time, and then just give him information, and then kind of ended it with, yeah, well, if you have any more questions, feel free to give me a call. My number's at the bottom.
Okay.
Just kind of let it slide off, whatever he was going through on that day had nothing to do with me.
100%. A lot of times at networking events, you're going to run into this type of situation. They're just going to peacock, right? Oh, I know this, I know that, I know everything else. And oh, wow, that's amazing. Wow, really? You do that? You own 2 properties. Like, that's impressive, And, no need to gloat. Stay below the radar. I like that one a lot.
So
Eve,
I have an
Eve
example
was
for that.
very, you were talking a lot last week, Eve. I want to hear you today. You had some great input last week. What's up, Angel?
Oh no, you can go ahead with Eve.
No, I was just bugging her. I was just telling her I want to hear from her today if possible. She had some great insight for us.
Yeah, come
Well,
on, Eve. This
I have
is the first time that I'm here. You gotta chime in, Eve.
well, I have something to share. Well, with that, I have experienced that in my life when I made this when with my in-law, with my mother-in-law. So at first, when I was introduced to her when I'm just recently married, I'm a shy type, silent type, not really showing what value that I have or skills that I have, but I always hear her compare, your husband's brother's wife, she has this, she's doing this and that, and like, oh, and then telling, it's like she's giving comparison and all that. Then I just don't care, and I don't really need to boast what I have or what is my work or whatnot, something like that. So, but I just let her found out herself. Oh, you're doing this. You're a manager. You're like that. Then it's just that it gives that surprise that you see on her eyes that you're not someone that just was picked up by my husband somewhere, something like that. So I want that mysterious. I started mysterious to her without knowing what I'm capable of, and she started comparing on how I will raise my kids and all that. Then she see how my kids are growing, and she really can't say anything. So yeah, I think that's the perfect how I think how I use this law on my life.
I love it. The look in her eyes, you can see it, She proved you
Yeah.
wrong. People will make assumptions about us. And yeah. Seeing it when they discover that they are wrong, even if they don't admit it, is powerful.
Yes, that's true.
Thanks for sharing that, Eve.
All right. So a little quick example from before I when I worked in corporate America, I would go into a job or to a new company, and there was a time where I kind of pretty much hit the ground running. I was up there with the top people making sales, and before I knew it, I was on people's radar when I kind of really wanted just to kind of fly below the radar. So sometimes if it's always best, to stay under the radar, because then you could be perceived as by a threat, not only by your coworkers, but also management. So yeah, don't show or play all your cards in the beginning.
Yes. And then the reversal, it's okay to show a flash of brilliance here and there.
Yeah.
Just to keep people off kilter. All right, let's move on so we're not here all morning. Law 22, use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. When you're weaker, never fight for honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power. The keys to power. What gets us in trouble in the realm of power is often our own overreaction to the moves of our enemies and rivals. That overreaction causes problems we would have avoided if we would have been more reasonable. The next time someone pushes you, try this. Do not resist or fight back, but yield. This often neutralizes their behavior. By yielding, you control the situation. Because your surrender is part of a larger plan to lull them into believing that they have defeated you. This allows you time and space to plot the counter moves that will bring them down. Surrender also offers a way of mocking your enemies, of turning their power against them. The reversal. The point of surrendering is also to prevent martyrdom. While martyrdom can offer power and inspiration, it is often, hold on, I can't see this, I got something in the way, messy and unpredictable. It is best to avoid it at all costs. So you know your beat. Are you going to fight to the death, or are you going to live to fight another day? This tells you to live to fight another day. What do you guys think on that?
I agree. Sometimes you got to let them win the battle so you can win the war.
You're just scrapping and scrapping even though you don't have a chance. And like I said, you need to regroup, right? Mm-hmm. Say you won this one. I'm just going to concede. I'm not going to waste my energy and just get ready for the next one. How does this fit into your life?
This also reminds me of conducting a deal or a sale, the power of walking away. Okay, you're not going to budge on the price or the terms. Okay, cool. We're not, we're not a fit, and you just pull away, surrender. Have your, keep your product or service, and sure enough, brings them back to the table. No, don't go anywhere. Let's figure this out. So now you have the power back.
Yeah. In the book, it told a short story about a general who conceded, and there was a powerful army coming, and they knew they had no chance. And so they just conceded, and he moved into the community, became a farmer, and in essence, they spared his life because now he's just a lowly farmer. He's not this king fighting against me. He's just a lowly farmer. I wouldn't even waste my time with him. Well, of course, over time, he was able to regain power and eventually win that war, where if he would have fought, he would have died. And there's no honor in that. Who else has a point on this chapter? All right, let's move forward. Law 23, concentrate your forces. Conserve your forces and energies by keeping them concentrated at the strongest point. You gain more from finding a rich mine and mining it deeper than flitting from one shallow mine to another. Intensity defeats X-tensity every time. When looking for sources of power to elevate you, find the one key patron, the fat cow who will give you milk for a long time to come. Keys to power. The world is plagued by greater and greater division. We are all in a state of total distraction and diffusion, hardly able to keep our minds in one direction before we are pulled in 1,000 others. The solution is a form of retreat inside ourselves to more concentrated forms of thought and action. Schopenhauer, intellect is a magnitude of intensity, not a magnitude of extensity. Concentrate on a single goal, a single task, and beat it to submission. Power always exists in the concentrated forms. For in any organization, it is inevitable that a small group hold all the strings. You must find out who controls the operations, who is the real direction behind the scenes. There are moments where dispersion is the proper tactical move. Dispersion is often suited for the weaker side. Yikes. All right. We all read books about this every day, right? You got to focus. You got to niches for the reaches. What do you guys think about this in business and in life?
Yeah, I think this is really helpful, or as we apply this on our career, or on the scale on how we can be successful. After I resigned from the corporate world and started freelancing, doing work from home jobs, I was overwhelmed of how many job opportunities are available online. I have been interested doing e-commerce with Amazon. I see some colleagues who are very successful and earning a lot. I was interested in doing an online English teacher. So there is a lot of opportunities, but you have to decide a specific niche for you to be able to successful. So you select that specific niche and learn from it, study, research, and if you're able to master one, then you will be much more successful. That's how I think would be much more helpful in being successful and doing, specifically in having a work from home job as a freelancer like I am.
Very good. Who else? Who else has experience with this?
So I'm going to come in from a different angle here. And he mentioned something on the notes there on this chapter about seeking out the people that are going to be in charge, the people that are the ones making moves. So I'm big on networking. I'm big on talking to people. And when I go to a networking event, I don't take my time networking with everybody. I purposely play the fool, just let people reveal themselves, find out who the real big dogs are in the room, not the perceived big dogs, which are usually none in the same. Remember that fucking guy that we talked to over in Cleveland in the presidential suite who was sitting in the corner nobody knew who the fuck he was, but he was running everything.
That's always the guy, right?
Exactly. So you find those people, and as opposed to networking with everybody, you're purposely networking with people that are going to be able to do something. Because, you might find a cool wholesaler or something at a networking event, and you may be able to do a deal. But if you're able to network with a guy who's got a lot of connections, a lot of money that will probably fund your deals or be one of your biggest buyers, that's probably a better use of your time.
Very good. We focus on this in business. How do we focus on this on life? Like, how about diet? That's what I was kind of thinking. How many of you have been like, oh man, it's the new year. I'm gonna eat better. I'm gonna start running. I'm gonna work out twice a day. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna and you spread yourself so thin. Like you fail because you say you're gonna do 18 different things and you only do 7 things, and now you're a failure, right? Instead of focusing, concentrating on this, I'm gonna focus on eating X amount of calories a day. Or I'm going to focus on working out 2 hours a day. And that's it. Shut everything else out, because then once you create your habit on that, now you can come in and add things. But we get so scatterbrained. Same in business, right? Oh yeah, I'll buy apartments and I'll buy single families and I'll buy in-state, out-of-state, I'll buy land, I'll do this. Like guilty, 100% guilty, you know? And that's when we weren't dominating because, you know, it's everything. You're not specific. You're not detailed on that. Now it's we buy in Cleveland, 1 to 4 units in Cleveland, like 1 to 4 units in Cleveland. Here's my zip code. Here's my zip code. Here's my zip code. Here's my zip code. Oh, it's in Lorain. Yeah, we don't buy Lorain. Oh, you've got a great deal in Dayton. Awesome. I don't buy in Dayton. And that's what's going to help us get to what we want, because now we're specializing in it. We're going to know, you know, 3 1s in Cleveland. We know it. That's what we do. And that's where the success is going to come. How do you guys put this in your business? How about a contractor
Said
view?
in the
And
notes
one
that you
copy.
do. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
What's up, JT?
I was saying, I love how in the notes he uses a key term and he says mastery. You know what I mean? And then having that intellect is an attitude of intensity, not magnitude of extensity. So like having that singular focus. I know when I have or bring the best value to people that I work with, or friendships even, it's a lot of times giving them specifically what they're asking for. I want to meet people in this realm or do business with these people. I don't purposely bring them everybody that I've talked to, you know what I mean? Because they were very specific on what they want to see. You know what I mean? I think in communication, it's the same thing with a lot of friendships and things. I know specifics of what, you know, we might want to do or we have planned in a week to do with friends and family. And I know people have very strict schedules with their kids and things like that. So I'm not going to go and try and plan something that doesn't meet that, you know, requirement. You know what I mean? Then I know they're not going to be able to be there. The main goal is for us to all be together, communicate together, and have a good time, right? So it's kind of just, you know, looking at what your cards are.
Awesome, JT. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Pam, I was picking on you because I think that's a big thing for contractors. If you are kind of the jack of all trades handyman, you're going to have lots of work available, but it doesn't typically pay well. If you're I do crown molding and that's all I do, you know what I mean? Or we do doors and that's all we do is doors. You can be the specialist and now you can charge more, and then people learn, oh, if you need doors, you call Pam, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Otherwise, I'm just chasing. And the homeowners don't know what they want, and they'll change everything out. So I've just had to drop a lot of that. And I'll just tell them up front, if you want handyman service, you get us for 8 hours and it's $500. If something doesn't get done, you still get just the 8 hours. Otherwise, we'll be there forever while they putz around, and I can't do that anymore.
For sure. A lot of the successful real estate agents out there, that's what they do, you know. They focus on, hey, I'm Central Phoenix. I do Central Phoenix. Oh, you have a Maricopa listing? Great. I don't do Maricopa. This is me. And so that's what works. You see, there's Bobby Lieb, right? You see Bobby Lieb sign everywhere in North Central Phoenix, everywhere. You don't see him on the west side. You don't see him in Mesa, right? That's his area. So he's concentrated. Nobody knows that better than he does. So when it's time for someone to call, who pops in their mind? 100%. All right, what time we got? 10:44. Let's move on. We have two to go. I think the Law 23, there's a lot of books and a lot of information out there on that one. All right, Law 24, play the perfect, how do you guys say this? In my head, I keep saying courtier. Is that it?
Quarter?
Courtier? I'm going to say courtier. The perfect courtier thrives in a world where everything revolves around power and political dexterity. He has mastered the art of indirection. He flatters, yields to superiors, and asserts power over others in the most oblique and graceful manner. Learn and apply the laws of courtiership, and there will be no limit to how far you can rise in the court society. The successful courtier walks a tightrope, pleasing but not pleasing too much, obeying but somehow distinguishing himself from the other courtiers, while also never distinguishing himself so far as to make the ruler insecure. Great courtiers throughout history have mastered the science of manipulating people. They feel the king. They make the king feel more kingly. They make everyone else fear their power. They never say more than necessary, getting the most out of a compliment or hidden insult. They are magnets of pleasure. They know how to please, yet they neither fawn nor humiliate themselves. Because power exists, courtiers will always exist. Law of court politics. Number 1, avoid ostentation. Never prattle on about yourself or call too much attention to your actions. Practice nonchalance. Never seem to be working too hard. Your talents must appear to flow naturally with an ease that makes people take you for a genius rather than a workaholic. Even if something demands a lot of sweat, make it look effortless. Number 3, be frugal with flattery. Too much of a good thing loses its value. Number 4, arrange to be noticed. Pay attention to your physical appearance and find a way to create subtly distinctive style and image. Alter your style and language according to the person you're dealing with. We all are taught to mirror in sales, right? This one comes with the business. Number 6, never be the bearer of bad news. The king kills the messenger who brings bad news. Number 7, never affect friendliness and intimacy with your master. He does not want a friend for a subordinate. He wants a subordinate. Number 8, never criticize those above you directly. Number 9, be frugal in asking those above you for favors. Ask for favors as rarely as possible and know when to stop. Number 10, never joke about the appearances or tastes. Number 11, do not be the court cynic. No one likes that guy anyways. Number 12, be self-observant. Number 13, master your emotions. Number 14, fit the spirit of the times. Number 15, be a source of pleasure. What do you guys think about playing the perfect courtier? So these 15 rules are fantastic, but I got to tell you, when I was reading the first part, being of that time and not necessarily the court jester, but being in a court and having to placate to a king, like that seems like one of the most horrible things. And I think that's kind of corporate America today, is everybody just, fake laughing around the boss. And I couldn't be in that world. What do you got, you guys? How does this apply in your lives?
Chris, I thought exactly of my time in the service.
Oh.
Before I was in the service, I didn't go in young. I kind of went in after some college experience and stuff. And then having corporate experience, I was like, I can't believe this job that I'm in with so many of these A-type personalities and strongmen, that how corporate this really is. And I would just see guys that knew how to play this role amazingly and got promoted and got everything they wanted in their job, and people who didn't. And, I think it's the same way in the corporate world, just like you say.
100%, man. I bet it is bad there. Yeah. Good joke, sir.
Oh man, I had so much leadership that loved me when I was really had nobody under me, because I worked with a bunch of generals and high officers, and it was just hilarious to see like these high guys turn around and come ask, guys like me who are just doing security or lowly jobs, and be like, hey, what do you really think about this? Or what's really going on? I can't listen to a damn thing like this person says. Or I can't stand this person. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's giving me all the dirt right here, and I'm just watching the door.
Right, that's awesome. Who else has experience in this, where you've had to placate to your boss you have to toe the line, right? That's a lot of what these chapters are about. How about some of the laws of court politics? Practice nonchalance, be frugal with flattery. Nobody likes the brown noser, right? The guy who's constantly just always vomiting praise upon the boss. Everybody looks at him with disdain, right?
I found the
Master your
opposite to
emotions.
be true, which is everybody loves the shit talker.
How so?
Especially people that are in power. So, like, for example, the generals or wherever the fuck JT was talking about, the higher ups, you know, they're used to everybody kissing their ass. They're used to everybody. The same thing goes with business. The same thing goes with millionaires and investors. They're used to people just like laughing at shit. So when you're like, dude, shut the fuck up, man, that wasn't fucking funny.
Yep.
Like, that's funny. That's funny to them because they're not used to
100%.
that shit.
Right.
They like it more.
That's
So
the
I've
reversal,
actually I
right? That's
found
the reversal of
that's
the law.
to my benefit for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for every rule, there's exceptions to that rule, right? Now you got to be the type of person who can do that and not look wrong. You know what I mean? It needs to be said correctly.
Oh, there's a skill. There's a skill involved
For
to it for
sure.
sure.
100%.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. When you're reading this chapter, this reminds me a lot of the shit that I do in life and business, where there's a certain skill to kind of get away with saying the stuff that you need to say without particularly saying it the way that they might offend them. Still make it, you know, still compliment them, but not be over complimenting. Kind of that balance that they're talking about there. You know, it's a game that you have to play. You may like it or not, but if you don't play it, then you're never going to reach certain amounts because it's just human psychology, it's human nature. It's a law.
It is. Ralph, what do you got for us?
Well, you said it, Chris. You said no one likes the bullshitter, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's the difference whether you're giving someone a genuine compliment because you actually respect them, or whether you're just you're just putting dumb shit out and just lying to the person, right? So that's the difference. Like, you're just doing that to benefit yourself, or you actually respect that leader. Any leader that likes the bullshit and they know it's bullshit, then I believe that term is you're tickling their ego. You know what I'm saying? And they're just like, oh, I like that because it makes me feel good about my insecurities, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my two piece on it. So BP hit it exactly. Like, when you do say somebody to that person who's in a powerful position, so everyone's trying to flatter them anyway, and you just fucking cut straight to the point, and yeah, they're gonna like you more because you're not bullshitting them.
100%. So how about these others? So alter your style and language accordingly to the person you're dealing with. Never be the bearer of bad news. How about those two? Does anybody have any ideas on those two? Never be the bearer of bad news. Have you ever had to be that person? And what was the impact on that?
Yeah. I had to be that person with somebody that was working with me on a project, and you know, I think if you don't try to sugarcoat it and get straight to the point, and it's valid, then it's taken with a grain of salt. But I mean, in a leadership position, you can't always not be that person. I don't think if you never want to have confrontation and bring the reality to your employee or your coworker or your partner, whatever, then the relationship will feel disingenuous anyway.
Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have any more points on this law?
Yeah, I would. You guys hear me?
Move on to the final law of the day. Law 25, recreate yourself. Do not accept the roles that society foists on you. Recreate yourself by forging a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. Incorporate dramatic devices into your public gestures and actions. Your power will be enhanced and your character will seem larger than life. Keys to power. The character you are born with are inherited and shaped by your parents, friends, and peers. The task is to take control of the process and stop allowing others that ability to limit and mold them. Remake yourself. Working on yourself like a clay should be one of your greatest and most pleasurable life tasks. The first step in the process of self-creation is self-consciousness. being aware of yourself as an actor and taking control of your appearances and emotions. The second step is the creation of a memorable character, one that compels attention and stands out above the other players on the stage. Good drama needs more than an interesting appearance or a single standout moment. Drama takes place over time. Rhythm and timing are critical. Remember that overacting can be counterproductive. It is another way of spending too much effort trying to attract attention. Learn to play mini roles, to be whatever the moment requires. Adapt your mask to the situation. The reversal, there is no reversal to this law. Bad acting is bad acting. So I know BP's got it because this is what BP teaches. If you guys don't know, he runs a group called Unfuck Your Mindset, and he teaches this on the daily. What are your guys' thoughts? Remake yourself. Who grew up saying you can't be this, you can't do this, this is what you are, you're going to go to college and you're going to do this and that, right? I mean, everybody in this room for the most part, right? This is why we're on this call, because we broke out of that mold, correct? What mold were you put in? Let's talk about it. Everybody's so shy today.
Corporate America, 9 to 5, save your money, build up your nest egg and live off your 401k when you retire.
You are bad if you want to be rich in this country. How insane is that, right? It's because you're not doing what everybody else is doing. Ralph, did you have something on that?
Well, my background's military, and so before my whole plan was graduate high school, join the military, retire out the military, and then figure it out from there. And I left early and started. I recreated myself a few times after that. So you definitely got to do that and break out of the mold if you're going to achieve some level of success.
Eventually, you get into that mold. You're like, I don't like this. I want to be something else. Unfortunately, some people just play that role. I know of a certain individual who was married for like 40 years and had several children, and he's gay, and he was in this mold and he was stuck, and he let that control his life. What he was supposed to be controlled his life for 60 plus years until finally he had enough and he was out. But at that point, shit, you're 60. So a lot of times society makes us assume that we have to be a certain way, when that's certainly not true. Anybody else have a thought on this?
Dude, when I think back to working in a regular corporate job, I swear to God, that's like 6-7 lifetimes ago, bro. I've reinvented myself so many times from that point, from that to putting out bandit signs, to wholesaling, to fixing and flipping, to all the shit that we're doing. I'm still reinventing myself right now.
Yeah.
So constantly shifting in order to maximize. Because look, man, we don't know shit. Like what we did was because other people told us to do it. So as you get older, as you get wiser, as you get around better people, better information, you then have the option to change. You don't have to continue to be a certain way because that's what we were taught. So constantly reinventing myself has been one of the biggest blessings, not only financially, but what you gain out of it. As you get into real estate, you might be like, hey, I want to be in real estate, but that's such a big term that you start learning, okay, well, I like this. Well, I like this better. Well, I really like this better. I like this, but I don't like that. Let me find something where I can create that type of world. And once you're able to do that, then life becomes a fucking bliss.
Bliss. How many of us, which is going to probably be all of us on this call, you found out about entrepreneurship, you're young, and it's about hustle and grind, hustle, grind, right? Go, go, go. What if you never got yourself out of that mold? What if you were 60 and you were still about the hustle, the grind? You know what I mean? It's you have to allow yourself to change, because as you grow, as you age, you're a completely different person than you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, like VP said several times, we've had to change ourselves. I'm not going to be the same at 60 as I am at 42. I hope. Hopefully I've evolved at that point, right?
I feel like that's a huge trap too, Chris. Speaking on that with society is, no matter what the society is in culture, you always hear people looking down upon people with like a different mindset or a different viewpoint, or looked at crazy, or people who are always trying to grow and reinvent themselves or to leave and change. Oh, they left, or they're not the same person. And I think of this this artist rendition of, I'm sure we've all seen it in memes, of the caterpillar talking to a butterfly. And the caterpillar is like, oh, you've changed. And the butterfly just says, you know, aren't we supposed to? You know, like life is about change, you know, it's change or die.
100%. Aren't we supposed to? And then the caterpillar is like, huh. Right? Like, huh, I never thought about that. What else? Who else has a point on this?
Well, you know, I once wrote a poem where I said, what if the fucking butterfly continues to evolve? And then it goes from a little sparrow to a pigeon to a fucking eagle to a fucking dragon. Like, how is the worm ever going to be able to relate to them, or vice versa? And that's part of the evolution. You know, we're constantly ever evolving, and people that don't, they're never going to understand. They're never going to understand that point of view. They're stuck in their point of view. So you must evolve in life. And like I said, not just financially for business, but for happiness purposes. What makes you happy at a certain age is not the same shit that's going to make you happy at a different age.
But when you guys say, like, BP, what you just said there is like, you know, when that butterfly went to you know, what you say, like a bird and then an eagle and then a dragon, like once it went from a butterfly to a dove or a bird or whatever, right, and then to an eagle, it's like, oh, I could change. Like it comes with its own challenges, but the prospect of recreating yourself becomes less daunting once you begin that process.
Yes.
That's a great point. I was also thinking, like, what if because of that change, and this book is about, you know, the 48 laws of power, isn't that the real power? Like that butterfly that changes constantly, or that person that changes constantly, you can relate to those who aren't there yet, who are on their journey, understanding that it's a journey, but can they really relate to you? You know what I mean? So that power is, you know, giving back, helping those, you know, that are looking for that.
And that's that key piece about not letting, you know, you directing your change and not letting others influence your change too. Is, you know, changing is great. It's about recreating yourself, like BP said, for not just financial, but, you know, for your happiness. So, you know, being conscious of why you're changing is key as well. Making sure that you're doing it for you, not for, you know, other reasons.
Well, you're being the best version of yourself, and every year you should be getting new tools or techniques that should allow you to be better. So if you're not looking to reinvent yourself once a year, at least, then definitely should be a goal for you to look. But that's a great way to continue the growth, because that you have to grow in order to evolve, obviously. Good to see you, Ralph.
Oh, I tell you what, I love when Ralph shows up. It's always a good conversation.
Good to see you guys.
So now, when we know this is something that's going to happen in our lives as adults, when we're courting somebody, when we find, you know, someone that we want to be with, we've got to make sure that they're going to be willing to grow as well, because we all grow. So are you going to grow together? Are you going to grow apart? Is one person not going to grow? You know what I mean? So definitely those conversations are important. And a lot of times it's not something that you can actually predict. What people want to happen and what actually happened in life is, you know, can be two different things. So I think having those conversations with your significant others is very important, you know, because I've been married for, I don't know, a while, like 14 years I've been married. What I wanted 14 years ago is different now. What she wants now is different from back then. if one of us is still stuck there and we're not growing together, we're going to have some serious problems. And that may be a relationship that doesn't even need to be continued, because we only get one chance at this, unless we get to become a fucking dragon. In that case, it would be dope.
PP, what do you always say in the beginning of Unfuck Your Mindset? What you gotta do, student? Are you in a relationship right now?
Oh my fucking God. Dude, I have caused more divorces without ever trying or talking people out of that shit, because that's what happens. You know, people come that they want to learn about themselves. Unfortunately, their significant other isn't on board. They're not looking to grow, or they're not looking to support or go in that direction. And
Comfortable.
whew, man, dude, I literally just got, 100% honest, I got a text message from one of my students 2 days ago saying that she just filed for a divorce. Don't tell nobody, but you know, this is what I'm doing. So yeah, man, that happens. And like Kris said, if you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that your significant other is on board. They don't have to be on the same journey as you, but they have to be willing to grow in their own way. And if you're both willing to grow in your own way, and you guys are going in a similar direction, then it works out. But yeah, if you don't, then man, that's a pain in the ass waiting to happen, as you found out, JT.
Yeah, 100%. You want them to grow with their own path. Obviously, you don't have to be exactly the same, but you want them to want more, right? Just like you. I tell you, you need some relationship counseling. BP is his office hours are, I think, are like Wednesdays 4 to 7 or something like that, because this he puts it on the table. People need to be doing pre-marriage counseling. They need to be talking. They need to be having these conversations, because love is just, love is passion wanes for everything, always. And that was one of our laws this week, or last week. It was this week. Once you make a decision, once you relent, you automatically become less attractive. So you got to make sure. Does anybody else have any final points on the last chapter?
I think whether it comes to relationship or entrepreneurship, especially getting out of the 9 to 5, is you just pretty much you just got to go for it. I can live with the yes, I can live with the no on things working out. I can't live with the what if, that untapped potential. So being scared of that what if and that coming to fruition, or not following your dream or your passion, that's got to scare you enough to take action and make things happen. And things may or may not work out, but just going and living with the yes or living with the no, not a what if.
It should always work out if you're pivotable.
Yes, you gotta pivot. Especially in business, guys. Imagine if you tried to do things. I got into business in real estate in 2004. Imagine if I was still trying to do things from 2004. When I got in 2004, there were people still trying to do things from 1990s, who were still trying to do things from the 1980s. There's some things that will always work, but you have to be able to pivot. What if in 2011, all of my deals came from REOs? What if in 2020, I was trying to get all my deals from REOs? There are none. What if short sale was, what if you never adapted and started buying short sales? What if you never did, you know what I mean? You always have to be ever evolving in your business, because the world is always changing.
And be proactive. That's key.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never, even if things don't go your way, it's not a loss. As long as you learn from the opportunity, like you guys said, pivot, move, make those adjustments and move forward. You'll keep growing, you keep evolving. But if you never try, you never go. That's where some people get held back. And I think most of us here pretty much have all lifted off in our own capacity, and definitely make things happen for ourselves.
I love it, Angela. You said taking action, man. That just hits home, because you look at a lot of people who are still in that want mode or in that state of confusion, and the only thing they're missing is action. I mean, even if you're going the wrong way, you said you could pivot as well. You know what I mean? There's always another action to take because you can't get to the next point if you don't take that step.
Yup.
Yeah, so
100%.
just continuously recreate yourself, be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. And just remember, the only constant in life is change. So change for the better.
Dropping dimes. I love it.
That was a quarter, bro. That was a quarter.
All right. Awesome, guys. I appreciate that. Jared loved that. Jared said, boom. All right. We are off next week. Next week is Thanksgiving on Thursday, and I hang with my boys on Friday, every Black Friday. My wife does her thing, and I do my thing. So we are off. So I believe it's December 4th is going to be the next Friday. We are reading chapters 26 through 32. And then we have three more weeks of reading. So hopefully everybody has a fantastic holiday. Get those chapters in. Come here on the 4th, ready to chat. Maya, we have a survey, I believe. When does that happen? Where's that at?
Yeah, after the call, they will direct to the
Okay.
browser.
Great. So when this ends, you're going to be directed to a survey. Do us a favor and fill it out. And also, if you have any books that are fantastic that we should be reading for 2021, definitely let us know. We're looking for great books that are either for personal growth or for business growth, and most importantly, and this is one of the best ones, because we can implement this into our lives. It's not just theory. We're actually doing this. We're learning this, implementing this into our lives, and it's going to give us power and make us better people. Also, if you would like to host this club, I would love to have you do that. We take care of all the slideshows and all the information you need to show up, know the material, and I really look forward to other people sharing their perspective. I enjoy doing this. I learn a lot doing it, but I love when other people do that. So if that piques your interest, or if you know somebody who's really passionate about a typical subject, let me know. Robert Greene, 33 years of laws of mastery. All right, we could just have a Robert Greene year. And then the seduction, right? The art of seduction.
Good one.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Seduction.
All right. I believe that's it, guys. Thanks for showing, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Later, man. Later, guys.
Adios, everybody.
Thank you, guys.